What's going on, everybody? Today I want to talk about copy. One of the most important things that you can do is learn how to create effective copy. Now, copy is essentially the words that you're using to create your scripts, to create the things that people are reading on websites, to create the titles of your pages, all that. Now, I'm gonna admit something very important. I am one of the worst at following the script. I blame my jazz musician self on that. But what I like to do is think about frameworks. The reason why is because if you understand the standard, if you understand the chords that you're using, then you can create a melody because you understand the framework. So if you don't want to be stuck on scripts, but you want to take a little bit of the ideas of an influencer that you really love, which is what I'm going to show you how to do today, you can say, what was this person's framework? And how do I adapt my speech to that? And essentially what you then be able to do, well, first of all, eventually you're going to be able to talk like this naturally. I've noticed my speech has been different as I've been studying how effective, quick communication happens. How do you tell a story in 30 seconds is the question that Instagram challenges you to ask. Or how do you tell a story for a minute and keep them all engaged? How do you hook them in 3 seconds? These are all things that are directly related to copy. I'll show you a little bit what we're going to do today on this. All right, I had to fix my lighting, but I didn't want to stop the video because we're building this podcast as we go along, and I'm going to show you all the ugly stuff. For example, I just figured out that I want my white light over here and my red light over here, and that looks a little bit nicer, and I have to clean my lens. All right, cool, everybody, so here we go. So what we're talking about is the scripts. Let's go here. Right now, I asked ChatGPT, I said, okay, I'm going to play a script for you in Instagram in a little bit, and I want you to transcribe it. I want you to do some deep analysis and see if we can pull out the process of how he cuts, and I'll tell you about them afterwards. I wanted to say, I'm going to describe how the video cuts work, close up, far away, movement, all those things, because you really want to analyze why videos work. We're going to create a sort of framework by doing a transcription, right? And if you're a jazz musician, you actually should know transcription is important, right? It's one of the most important things. If you don't do anything else, you could transcribe and go pretty far. Here's a script. I did a function with Whisper Flow. I'll put the link in my description. Basically, Whisper Flow allows me to hold a button and it will transcribe the audio of anything into a text. For example, I'm holding down function right now and I could put this into my chat box so I could actually talk and just think and brainstorm without too much resistance. ChatGPT then sends a polished script and says, this is what's going on. It then says, here is the framework. Now, what I want to do, I'm having a conversation, getting more details. This little update, I was just talking to it. I like to give it context of where it's coming from. Now, can you create a framework for me that analyzes how, in almost crazy detail, how words are broken up? Because you notice the phrases and everything. I want you to almost create a mathematical equation so that every time the GPT spits out a script, it's going to fit within the context of this framework, a script DNA. Very good. You're looking for a script DNA formula that analyzes how words and phrases are structured rhythmically and emotionally in their monologues. The goal is for GPT to mathematically reproduce the cadence, tension, and the thought progression of your voice. Let's build this like a grid for words, a hybrid copywriting formulas, poetic devices, and spoken word rhythm. Now, this is just me thinking outside the box. Ooh, and I didn't expect this. Okay, now the last trick I'm going to do before I create a script, because this week I'm going to make 21 of these. I want to make sure that actually I'm going to put this as a goal. I want to make 21 scripts about things that I think are very relevant to artists. I'm not concerned about the future of art. I'm concerned about my friends who don't understand what technology is doing to disrupt their business. I'm concerned about the artists who are coming out of college into a world of AI that's moving way faster than they were just taught. I can't imagine what it's to be maybe 21, 22, I'm about to graduate, I'm thinking about music business, but what's going to be the future and how do I position myself? I don't think just being good at your instrument has ever been the way to make or the way to really have a music business sustain. What I think is being the person who's inventive, unique, knows themselves, knows their personal brand is the way to go. So, that being said, let me double check my microphone is actually the one that I want. Okay. Now, would you please put the framework into the canvas? Now, be careful because the subject matter, I do want you to have an example, but the subject matter should be more relative to my business, the blues print saxophone side. Maybe give an example that is about, I know, the business structure of artists. I'll give you some context from Perplexity, some research, and you could generate some ideas for me. How does that sound? This is very interesting. So I said mathematical formula, and it actually took me very literal, very literally, which I actually love. And I'm excited to see what this is going to produce for me, because I'm a big brainstorm. Everybody, I'm like I said, I'm not great at scripts, but I'm good at taking frameworks and being able to create those scripts. Hopefully, and let me know in the comments, do you hear that I try to speak in hooks? Over time, do you hear that I'm getting better? I'm working on it, so let me know. Here's the Perplexity research coming in from, no, we gotta go to Perplexity. So here in Perplexity, what I did was I took a little bit of information on what musicians need to know about structuring their business legally. We have to change his hook. I can't, but let me give you perspective. I'm not gonna steal. That is a very important part of his script, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna figure out my own thing, but this is good. Let's just try this out. Oops. You're not independent, you're unprotected. They told you to stay solo, that being a real artist meant writing out raw, and you don't need to be structured. But that wasn't advice, it was a setup. The word business comes from business, meaning care, responsibility, not hustle, not grind, responsibility to protect your art and to protect you. Because the moment you start selling music, booking gigs, or collabing, you're liable. You're exposed. You're operating inside of a system that rewards professionalism but punishes informality. But here's what artists need to know. Something like that. But here's what artists need to know. Your talent is divine, but your structure is human. No LLC, that's your personal savings, your home, your gear on the line. You do system, you dodge protection. We could do some more. Ooh, philosophical inversion. That's beautiful. You're not building a brand if you're still mixing your bank accounts. This is one of the best scripts I've ever made. I'll stop there. So everybody, what I this episode here is that I've been really interested in making. Let's get it. So I've been really interested in making some of the better content for you all. And one of the things is that a lot of us do not have time to doom scroll. But if we train our algorithm to make it so that our doom scrolling is educational for the most part, then we sort of take our life back. And what we're doing is using the tools that's available to us, the network of people that are going to give out information and effectively give out information. We're giving them more of the platform and more of a business reach just by engaging in their content, okay? So, speaking of, if you like what I'm doing, please ask me any questions. My whole goal is to take everything I've learned from my business, and failing and successes, my mentors who are some of the best in the world at what they do, and make it so that artists understand what we need in order to make it so that we look like a serious business to other people. I'm very interested in making it so that we look the most professional that we can, simply because we know the things that the bankers know the things that investment funds know, and we can hang at the table and know what we're doing with our money and our resources. All right, this is the Blues Prince podcast, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you made it this far, you're a real one, and I'll talk to you soon.